Well, we'll kind of do a quick rundown, a quick prediction, if you will, of the super regionals and who's going to make it to Omaha. Louisville won the Nashville regional, which shout out to Wright State. They played Auburn earlier this year in Plainsman Park, and they eliminated Vanderbilt and the Vandy Whistlers. So he will not be going to the Super Regionals, nor will he be going to Omaha. The Louisville Cardinals winning that regional. As of right now, as we're doing the show live, Southern Miss and Miami are playing. So should Southern Miss win that game, do you like the Cardinals over the Mustard Buzzards, or do you think Miami has a good shot at beating ACC rival Louisville?
Wow. Ole Miss 12-11. I'm sorry, Taylor. I had to look at that one real quick. It is 12-11, bottom 8 with 1 out. Ole Miss is at the plate. They have cut it to a 1-run game, man.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, college baseball for you. So look, I'm enjoying what Miami's doing. I think they can get hot. I like Louisville, but I think Southern Miss finds a way to win this game tonight, and I think Southern Miss finds a way to get to Omaha, and they can hit, man. They can hit. They got the pitching. The guy they threw against Alabama the other day, I thought he had electric stuff. Love to see them beat Alabama, especially 2 years ago after all of the Alabama fans talked crap on us about getting eliminated against Southern Miss. Karma comes back around, Taylor, and it'll find you. And so I like the Mustard Buzzards. I thought that was funny on the broadcast the other day when they were talking about that. I said, man, that's a good one.
I saw on Twitter. I can't remember. Yeah, I don't know the guy that said it, but somebody like when they announced the pairings last week that they said that prayers to the University of Alabama baseball team. Nothing's wrong with them. They just have to go to Hattiesburg for the weekend. And then after they were eliminated, I think it may have been like the sidelines account that they had. They said, well, we decided we'd be nice that we'd send you back early so you don't have to spend the whole weekend in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
I saw that.
Oh, so that was that was beautiful, of course. So then looking back at the next one, this one has gone final from today. The Beavers getting ready to host the Florida State Seminoles, and that's again flashbacks from a few years ago. I say war flashbacks, not because Auburn didn't have success in Corvallis. They did, but I remember staying up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning watching those games. So wouldn't want to be Florida State Seminole fans because I'm sure they're going to give you the latest time slot on ESPN they possibly can. But Oregon State, Florida State, do you think the Seminoles go out west and get it done, or will the Beavs head back to the College World Series?
I think the Beavs are headed back to the College World Series, man. I really like this Florida State team, but I'm going to go with something that almost hurt Auburn a couple years back, and that was going out west, man, and that was a very difficult series. The Auburn pitching staff come through that night. Blake Burkhalter, I'll never forget him dogpiling and closing it out right there in that 4-3 win. It's a tough travel, and it's going to be really, really painful for some of these Seminole fans, the players, like the jet lag all the way across the country from one ocean to another. Like, it's tough, man. It's tough. And you're 3 time zones behind. Like, it's just difficult. And a lot of people don't really believe in that, and they don't play into the time change, but it does play a factor. You can see the Auburn football team when they went out to Cal a couple years ago, it played a factor in my opinion. And it's difficult to sit around all day and you're just sitting in a hotel and you're watching other teams play. And I'll tell you what, out there, I've been out to Oregon, and it just feels like, man, and you're looking at stuff back home. You're looking at people's Snapchats and social media, and you're like, oh, man, it's 9 o'clock there. Well, it's only 6 o'clock here, and it's like exhausting.
Yeah.
And so I like Oregon State, I know they got a stud freshman pitcher. I think he pitched today, matter of fact, and he closed that one out. I think he could be ready to go. He could be tough. Auburn beat Oregon State in the regular season, by the way, out in Dallas, Texas. But like I said, I like the Seminoles team, but I think Oregon State gets it done, man. They can stroke, and I like their club, man.
Yeah, they are a fun club, and I got to watch a little bit of the USC game last night, and just listening to their head coach. They, I think the ESPN guys asked them, they were like, "So, do you get any warm feelings playing an old Pac-12 team in USC?" And he's like, "Dude, we're on an island by ourselves. We have no reason to care about anybody but the Oregon State Beavers." I'm like, I love that. I love that a lot. Another thing that I remember him saying, it was in that same interview that he was talking about, kind of like what Auburn experienced this weekend. Just a lot of people being in town and watching the game. And I don't know, maybe COVID kind of changed things, or maybe just a change in the way the tradition was perceived with Oregon State baseball. But he said that he felt great that a lot of people were coming back to the stadium to watch a regional. And even, I think he said like there was a parking deck somewhere that like had a altered view of the field, but there were still people that were in the parking deck trying to get a view of the game, or if they couldn't get a view of the game, they just wanted to be on campus to be around the atmosphere. So props to them for getting that super regional. They'll host Link Jarrett and the Florida State Seminoles.
Yeah.
Another one that was decided today in the Chapel Hill Regional, North Carolina defeated Oklahoma, so they will get to host Arizona, a team that came out of the Eugene Regional. And what about Oregon just laying an egg in their own regional? It's like that one controversial call just ruined their entire weekend.
It was such a cheese call, man. We got to do better than that. I just felt like, what do you want the runner to do? That's where I sit. Is I felt like he was giving himself up, and I felt like you could see the momentum in him put his hands out and say, "Okay, I'm not wanting to do this, but I have to do it."
Yeah,
and just kind of screwed him, to me, in my opinion. But that's baseball, Taylor. Like that, I mean, that's how it goes sometimes, and that's how the cookie crumbles. It's a weird game, and you don't catch a break here and there, and you go 0-2 in your own regional. Auburn fans know how that feels. So, you said North Carolina.
Yeah, Tar Heels taking on Arizona.
Arizona, yeah, and Arizona's traveling to North Carolina, right?
That's right. Going to be another coast to coast trip.
And I can tell you that I think the North Carolina Tar Heels are going to the College World Series, and I think the North Carolina Tar Heels could probably win the national championship.
Yeah, they were pretty solid. They ended the year as the number one team. A lot of people felt they should be the number one overall seed, but they get the number 5 seed and will take on Arizona in the Supers. We'll have Auburn Coastal. We'll come up with that prediction in just a little bit. But one that just went final, actually refreshed the bracket and see the Tennessee Volunteers have defeated Wake Forest in the Knoxville Regionals. They will go to the Supers to take on Arkansas in Fayetteville, a fan base that just loves Tony Vitello. Does Tony V get another shot at another championship, or will DVH erase it from him?
I don't think he does. And, I think DVH and Dave Van Horn, if you're going to win one, brother, this is the year, because we're slowly seeing the SEC teams kind of get out of the way, and the underwhelming weekend that they have had. And, I think DVH has got to get him one. And with this team that they've got, and they got through the regional. That's been the killer for them here lately, and they got through that part. And you got Tennessee at home. You've already taken a series from Tennessee in the regular season, so you just got to keep rolling, man. And I think they got the twins out there. One of them was SEC Player of the Year. They're really dang good. I just think Arkansas's got too much power, and I think their pitching's really good, and they're at home in the pen, and I don't see. I think Tennessee is just too up and down for me, Taylor. Like once Liam Doyle goes, Yeah, he's great. That's awesome. But their lineup is just so up and down this year, and their pitching is just so up and down. So you get them out there on a big boy field, and let's see how it plays out. But I like the Hogs, man.
Yeah, I like the Hogs too. They're another one of those teams that just can never get over the hump. They'll get to
Yeah,
Omaha, no
yeah,
problem. But I think we talked about Oregon State a couple predictions ago, but they were one catch in foul territory away from winning
yep.
their title a few years ago, and it just came off the rails after that. So maybe the Hogs will get it done. They'll knock Tony Vitello out, and we won't have to see him in Omaha either.
Yeah.
So this one's going to be a very interesting regional. Clemson eliminated from their own regional. West Virginia coming out of that one. They defeated Kentucky in a wild game last night. I think they had to walk off and beat the Wildcats in a high-scoring game. They will take on the winner of the Baton Rouge regional. That one has not I think that one just started.
Yep.
If it hasn't started, it's about to start.
LSU 1-0.
It's 1-0 LSU. Okay, they're taking on the Little Rock Trojans, who upset them yesterday to stay alive and force a game 7. Should that score hold up and LSU host West Virginia, who do you see coming out of that one?
I like LSU, but I'll tell you my concern with LSU is, once again, like I said about Tennessee, their lineup is so up and down, Taylor. It's their lineup can hit and they can produce 10 runs one night, and then the next night they produce nothing.
Yeah.
And, Barry Jones goes through some slumps, and Curiel, which he was a great freshman, but, it's been dipping a little bit here and there. And it's just, they go through these little lulls where they don't produce a lot of runs. And I think their pitching's great. Their pitching sets up really well, and I think you got to have that to go to Omaha, and I think they get it done. Little Rock just tied them up 1-1.
Hey,
yeah,
they
I
were
think
well under 500 coming into this tournament too, right?
Yeah, they had to win. They had to win the conference and everything, and they were like a 9 seed in the conference tournament.
Yeah,
and they won it. So, but I do think LSU gets it done. They got to get through tonight first, but I do think they get it done and they go to Omaha.
The next one, what's the latest update from Ole Miss Murray State?
12-11, top 9. Murray State's hitting, and there's 2 outs in that one in top 9. So Ole Miss will have the last crack at it.
All right, so whoever wins that regional, the Oxford regional between Ole Miss and Murray State, they will take on Duke. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if Murray State wins that game, Duke will host. But if Ole Miss wins, they will go to Oxford. But Duke winning the Athens regional again. Georgia just absolutely laying an egg in Athens. And when I think of Georgia, I mean, of course, I have my own thoughts on Georgia. All of my family lives in Georgia, even though we're all Auburn fans. All my family lives in Georgia. A lot of people from Georgia, and but usually, you have your thoughts about them in football and have thoughts about them in basketball. Didn't really have, ill will towards them, but didn't really, say like, oh, that's a good team. I hope they do well. But they were bat flipping and like didn't have their jerseys. When I say they didn't have their jerseys buttoned all the way up, it was like, I mean, you could see their belly. I mean, they had they were just like trying to put on some sort of I'm better than you attitude. And Oklahoma State and Duke both just ran them out of their own regional. Duke comes out the winner in that regional, and they will be paired with either Ole Miss or Murray State. How do you see that one panning out?
Taylor, can I say this real quick on the whole jersey thing? And
please do.
The bat flipping thing. First thing, I don't hate bat flipping, okay? But what I do hate is when you bat flip towards somebody else's dugout.
And then stare at them while you do it.
Stare at them and you're pointing at them and you're like, all right. I don't care what was said. I had a Georgia fan tell me on TikTok, well, you don't know what was said. They were talking to him. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Hey, hit the bomb. You can stare at it, toss your bat over back towards your dugout. But when you bat flip towards the opponent's dugout and you're staring at them and pointing at them and all that, karma comes back, y'all. Karma comes back. And that is why Oklahoma State found a way, and then Duke ultimately come out of that regional. I also am so glad Butch Thompson is our head coach because of the whole jersey debacle. What are we doing here? Okay.
I thought it was only a pants issue because it seems like the socks and the pants are like going up above the knee now, but now it's a jersey issue. You've got to worry about jerseys now too.
Yeah. I had a high school coach tell me, if you're going to unbutton your jersey on the field, then you take it all the way off.
I like that.
So if you're going to unbutton your jersey or untuck your jersey, even while we're slapping hands after the game, while we're celebrating, while we're in team huddle and coaches, if you untuck your jersey or unbutton it, just take the jersey all the way off. And I see these cats, they have 3 or 4 buttons undone, and I'm like, brother, we can see your belly button.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to see your 6-pack. We know, brother. All right, you're in a college weight room. Like, we get it. You're 6'4".
We don't need to see the forest on the chest. We don't need to see it.
We get it, man. And I didn't like it. It's a bad look to me. But Duke did the job, man. The Duke was a highly rated team coming into the year, Taylor, and they found some struggles at the very beginning of the year. They couldn't hit, they couldn't pitch, and they just got better as the year went on. They started living up to that preseason hype that they had this year. And a lot of people picked them at the very beginning of the year to be an Omaha run. And I think especially if Murray State holds on here and takes down Ole Miss, I think Duke goes to the College World Series. But Little Rock has just taken a 3-1 lead over LSU.
Come on, Trojans. Let's go.
Man, that's big.
Come on.
But yeah, I'm with Duke there, Taylor.
Yeah. Good call there. And the last one that we'll preview before we get your final thoughts on the Auburn Super Regional. It's coming up between Auburn and Coastal Carolina starting this weekend. And I don't know, how you feel about it. I'm not really one way or the other. I know there's a lot that are like, well, I want, this team to win because they're the SEC, or I don't want this team to win because they're the SEC, or I don't want to share feelings towards another team that's not mine or whatever. But I heard a lot, even though, we're here in East Alabama, I feel I heard a loud scream coming from the West. I believe it was originated in College Station, Texas, when the Texas Longhorns got eliminated by the UTSA Roadrunners.
Yeah.
Because, and again, I've got family that grew up in West Texas. They're Red Raiders. So, of course, I was taught from a very early age, we don't care, just don't like the Aggies, pretty much. And after what happened last year after the College World Series, when Texas A&M makes it to the final and they end up losing, and Jim Schlossnagle basically gets off the plane in College Station and drives up to Austin. I'm taking the job at your arch rival right before they come into the SEC, and they're out of their own regional as the number 1 overall seed. Or no, they weren't number 1. Number 2. Vanderbilt was number 1. But they were number 1 there for a long time in the rankings. And the UTSA Roadrunners get them. And they are going to the Super Regionals to take on the UCLA Bruins. And I don't really know, how you feel about UCLA, but it's one of those that's like they're either going to win it all or they're going to lay an egg before they get to Omaha. And it's one of those that it would not surprise me if UTSA goes to Westwood and gets a win and we see them in Omaha in a couple of weeks.
I completely agree. I'm the same way with UCLA. Is they have the pitching, they have the hitting, they play the small ball, in my opinion, at times when they need to. But man, they will lay that egg, and it'll all fall apart just like that. And I think UTSA, I believe in them. I think they're hot. They pitch well. They don't walk people. They don't hit people. They don't put free runners on. They play small ball, situational baseball. They hit for power. I thought it was very, very impressive the way they just took it to Texas. They walked in there and they were not scared of anybody, and they handled business. I'm going to ride with UTSA. I know it's not the popular pick, but I think once a team like this gets hot and they start feeling themselves, it's hard to really slow them down, Taylor.
You've got to have a Cinderella story somehow, some way. And it could be the Little Rock Trojans, but, if it's not the Little Rock Trojans, you got to like the Roadrunners.
Yeah.
UTSA to get that done. And we've talked about it pretty much all show long. But it's time now to make the overall prediction. Who is going to win the Auburn Super Regional, the first ever Auburn Super Regional at Plainsman Park, between the Tigers and the Chanticleers from Coastal Carolina? Who gets it done?
I'll tell you this, Taylor. I think the Auburn Tigers are headed back to Omaha, Nebraska. I think Sam Dutton gives you electric ace stuff. And I think this pitching staff does what they need to do against this Coastal Carolina lineup. And I think there is no way that Ike Irish lets Auburn go down in this series. I think Cooper McMurray is locked in. I think Bub Terrell is locked in. I think it's snowing in Auburn, Alabama right now. Haven't looked out the window. All right.
Freeze warnings happen in the spring too, not just in fall.
That is correct. And Eric Snow is hot as a firecracker, man. And I just think this lineup is motivated. I think they're ready to go. And these young freshmen have elevated the talent in that lineup tremendously. I like the Auburn Tigers in Game 3, getting it done and going to Omaha, Nebraska, and dogpiling for the first time ever in Plainsman Park to go to Omaha, man. I think it's going to be electric.
So not really a question, but a statement, I guess, from our friend Brett. And answer this one honestly. I think Blake is heading to Omaha if AU goes. Will you be going to Nebraska if the Auburn Tigers make it back to TD Ameritrade?
Yes, Taylor, I will be. And I'll tell you why. Is the first 2 times we made it under Butch, I took it for granted a little bit, but I also looked at it and I said, I just don't feel like Auburn can win it.
Yeah.
And that might be, a little, you could say a little bad fan in me, maybe, but
it's like one of those that you don't want to be too confident in your team because that's, always opens the door for disappointment. You also don't want to seem too negative as well, but it's kind of like, you have to be kind of self-aware if that makes sense. You want to be as self-aware as possible. And those other 2 years, you kind of felt it, but something's different this year.
Something's different this year. And I said a couple weeks ago, I think this Auburn team could win the national championship. The previous 2 times, I felt like, hey, I'm so glad we made it. I'm so glad to be on the stage. It is electric for Auburn baseball to have this opportunity. But this year, if we get to that final 8 and we get to Omaha, Nebraska, I feel like we could win the whole dang thing. I really do. I really do. Especially the way the pitching staff has played out and they've worked together and gelled, and this lineup and the power that they have and the base hitters that they have. It's something where I trust Butch Thompson and I believe in him 110%.